Hello everyone, and welcome to the video companion for the Talking Time Let's Play of Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. I'm McDole, and today we're tackling the first optional dungeon of A Realm Reborn, Halatali. Halatali is optional in that you don't need to complete this dungeon to complete the main scenario, but completing it does give a few fringe benefits. You might notice that this dungeon is rated at level 20, and we're just now getting around to it at level 33, leveling up to 34 pretty early in here. You're able to take the quest that unlocks it from Vesper Bay as soon as you hit level 20, but I purposefully put this off until now because once you join a Grand Company, you get access to the Grand Company hunting log, and several of the monsters inside this dungeon here are on that log. Part of the requirements for raising in the ranks of the Grand Company is completing the log, so I wanted to kill two birds with one stone here. The first segment of this dungeon is pretty straightforward, and I'm lucky to have both a Pugilist and a Thaumaturge here because they both should have access to AoE skills, which makes killing a large group of monsters really easy. In addition, I'm with an Astrologian as a healer who has access to an off-global cooldown healing skill that they can use every minute or so, leaving them free to blast monsters while they use damage mitigation in the form of Rampart, Arm's Length, and Reprisal to keep the damage from getting too overwhelming. There isn't a whole lot to say about this dungeon, apart from the fact that this place was used before the Calamity to house domesticated monsters for use in the Blood Sands of Ul'dah. Just 5 short years of neglect, all these monsters have grown feral and are doing things like summoning void creatures and generally just making a mess of things here. The chances of something escaping Halatali and making a menace to the good peoples of Thanalan is just too great. Here, I am verifying the Grand Company hunt log, making sure that I have fulfilled the requirements for the monsters that appear in this dungeon. The two on the screen that you can see only require killing 3 of the critters in here, and that's all we really need from Halatali to complete the hunting log. So in summation, I'd recommend putting Halatali off until you get into a Grand Company. In order to be promoted to the Petty Officer ranks, you'll need to earn a total of 10,000 seals and complete the first rank of the hunting log. A good instinct for tanks to develop is to understand what your healer is capable of. I would even suggest playing as a healer for a little while if that's your scene to get an idea of what a healer's toolkit consists of. Healers at higher levels have a suite of powerful off-global healing tools that are available quite frequently, allowing them to weave heals in between their normal GCD spells that they use for attacking. Stone and Glare for white mages, Ruin and Broil for scholars, and Malefic for astrologians. The first boss here is Firemane, a big elemental sprite monster. This boss is in the tradition of Den the Orcatooth or Gygas the Giant, in that there are mechanics to this fight, but they can be safely ignored. Firemane is, in fact, so unremarkable that I'm taking a moment to check out my hunting log for Maelstrom to ensure that I'm completing everything I need to in here. The sparks will fly out from the side of the arena into the pyre in the center, and when they get there, they explode, damaging all the players. This damage, however, is very minimal and can be safely ignored with a few well-placed castings of Medica or Helios. Firemane should be on every Grand Company hunting log, so again, that's why I put off doing this until I get into the Grand Company. Sorry, I took a nap there. Beyond Firemane are another few trash pulls, interspersed with these chain winches. In order to open up the path of the next boss, each of these winches needs to be interacted with. Something happens when you activate each one. There could be a bomb that will immediately start casting self-destruct, a treasure chest containing some potions or ethers, or a trio of lightning elementals. There are 5 witnesses in total, and unfortunately my teammates aren't helping out with activating them. Though, to be fair, the Pugilist and Thaumaturge could be new, so they might not have the benefit of having run these dungeons dozens of times over the course of 4 years. I'm just gonna speed ahead to the boss. This sped up footage might be a case of me not being able to put the game's best foot forward. The only explanation I can really offer is that this content was developed alongside the original 1.x's patch content. The development team for Final Fantasy XIV was working on 2 different games simultaneously, and I'll refer you back to the NoClip documentary of what that was like. The fact that this game and its story is as compelling as it is remains a miracle. Currently, the developers are working to revamp this original 2.0 storyline to make it a little less fetch questy, and as of this recording, just after patch 5.25 was released, the developers are still in the process of doing this revamp. It's honestly pretty incredible that Naoki Yoshida and his team are still interested in reworking older content to make it more palatable as tastes change and evolve, which has been his design philosophy ever since he stepped into the producer role. Here in the Hall of Secutores, we have this lizard guy in a partially flooded arena. His gimmick is that he will run back to the center of the arena and electrify the flooded floor, so everyone needs to stand on the ramps leading down and pick off the lightning elementals he summons. He's completely immune to damage when he does this, so it can be very annoying. The damaged floor can be nasty if you stand in it for too long, but lingering in it long enough to grab thread on the sprites is perfectly acceptable. It is possible to squeeze in a little extra damage before he turns invulnerable if a tank or melee DPS can stun the boss before he gets back to the center of the pit, but it is very rare that a party of at-level players will be able to kill the boss with only one cycle of invulnerability and sprite adds. Another good instinct to learn as a tank is knowing which adds are going to die fairly rapidly and thus which enemies in a boss encounter are not really worth the time to establish threat on, as 2 GCDs from a DPS would be enough to kill them. It's simply not worth the time in the extra GCDs when the worst a DPS will suffer is a few auto attacks easily covered by a Medica or Helios or a Scholar's Whispering Dawn. There's very little standing between the warp and the final boss of the dungeon, so it's pretty easy to just grab this bunch of enemies in front of the door, kill them, and then just run in after they're dead. This is Tangata, a Void Scent creature. Bringing back the mechanics from Fire Mane and the Lightning Lizard, he'll become invulnerable until the party kills a few fire sprites, while some sparks fly out from the torches on the walls into Tanagata, which explode on contact. If hit early enough with a healer's damage over time, they won't even make it to the boss. This is where the boss becomes invulnerable and everybody has to go and attack the fire sprites. As you can see, they die rapidly. There's really not much else for the tank to do other than kill the adds until the boss becomes vulnerable again. Luckily, this boss only has 2 cycles of invulnerability, and after that it doesn't become invulnerable again. And that'll just about do it with our dapper Moogle friend. Thank you very much for watching. Check out the LP in the description below, and may you ever walk in the light of the crystal.